Keyonte, incredible tonight. Let's talk about what looks nice, what doesn't, what do they got to improve on. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, before we get into it, let's just give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. There it is. Go to prizepicks.com, use promo code HoopsNerd. They will match up to $100. If you're new to Prize Picks, go there, sign up. It's free money, up to $100. You put $5 down, they give you $5 back. It's a lot of fun. You just go in, do your research. You know, is someone out on the other team that's usually a good defender? Maybe pick the guy who's going at him as the over on points. That's usually what I do, and usually when I have the most success. You know what? If you're going against a team like the Nuggets, pick the under because you know they are going to get up big like tonight. If you pick the under on Jokic, that was probably an easy pick because you knew he was going to probably sit a lot. So anyways, go to prizepicks.com, use promo code HoopsNerd. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys, the Utah Jazz got absolutely haymakered in the first half in this game. The Denver Nuggets showed why they are just so incredibly good. And you know what? The Jazz, Keyonte George, Brice Sensabaugh, they looked incredible, but you got to give credit to the Utah Jazz in general. They didn't back down. They came back in this one, and it was really nice to see. Let's see. Let me bring this over here. All right, so we don't need to go into the Nuggets. I mean, Jamal Murray had a monster night. Basically, the three-point shooting from the Nuggets was insane. In the first half, it was 75%. To end the game, they end at 59% from three. Insane. Utah has to become a better three-point defensive team, and they're going to have to do that through the draft and just through, some adjustments. They just don't have the defenders on the team yet to do that, when you have Keyonte George is a rookie. Brice Sensabaugh is a rookie. You have Jordan Clarkson, who's never been a good defender on the floor. These types of guys on the perimeter, even Chris Dunn was not that great tonight defending the three. Colin Sexton as well is honestly a pretty bad three-point defender. And so you see all this, and it just leads to that type of shooting. But Utah also seems to have the worst luck ever. Anyways, let's talk about Brice Sensabaugh and Keyonte George. Brice Sensabaugh in this, he's now had 2 starts for the Utah Jazz. In this one, he goes 7 for 11. Oh, thank heaven, from the field for this. 16 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. He did have 5 turnovers. The turnovers is the stuff that rookies do. But in these 2 starts, and also in these last 7 or 8 games that he's gotten a chance to play, he's really proven that he is an NBA player, an NBA rotation player that contributes to winning. I mean, tonight, the one thing that he's really proven in every game before this is that he's a lights-out three-point shooter. And we'll bring, I have some old tabs up here. Let's bring these down. He's showing that three-point shooting is legit. Tonight, he misses them, but he just showed it from the field. Everything else he can do. Yeah, for the season 34, that's what happens when he's just barely getting any time and he misses 3, so that goes down tonight. But he goes 7 for 11 from the field. That means he only missed 1 2-point shot tonight. And to me, that was probably the most impressive thing. He's doing all sorts of things. He's getting floaters. He's got fadeaway mid-range jumpers he's knocking down. He's scoring in transition in a variety of ways. The fact that he can knock down the 3 at a high rate, and 34%, I'm not even going to look at that much because that's going to just continue to rise because we know he can knock those threes down, especially the catch and shoot threes. But the fact that he can score in such a variety of ways. He's 6'5". He has nice size. I don't know if he's quite big enough to be an every game dominant wing in the league. But what I do think is that if he can drop, 10 pounds and just get in incredible elite shape, he could possibly be the 2 guard for the Jazz. I mean, if he can start doing this. And then the thing that makes me excited about Sensabaugh is this right here, these 3 steals. I mean, he's actually done surprisingly well keeping his man in front of him. And the thing that's pretty crazy is look at this. The Jazz lose this one by 21. They were down by 30-something at one point. He was a +4 in this game as a starter. I mean, come on. That's pretty impressive. John Collins, a +6 in this one. They basically lost this game when Luka Samanic came on the floor, although ironically he's a -4 in this one. Jordan Clarkson a -29. And, Gabriel, you're mentioning Kessler. I've been trying to talk to people about this. We've mentioned it on this channel. People want to get mad at me here and there because I get critical. All I do is just talk about what I see. And tonight was a lot more of, and I tweeted this out, we've talked about it on this channel. Walker Kessler was a -19. He was, look at the different starters and what he does. He is, and I know it's because basically John Collins and Walker Kessler are two centers, but Collins can at least spread the floor. It's pretty rough. I was happy to see him get the rebounding, and I actually felt like he played pretty decently in this one. But I tell you what, and this is going up against Jokic, so you've got to give him a little bit of leeway, because Jokic is like the best player in the league right now, at least in terms of just scoring consistently and rebounding, and offensively he's just an absolute juggernaut. He really is. And so you got to give Kessler some grace, and he had actually a few moments tonight guarding Jokic that I think he did a pretty good job. He has got some habits and some things that drive me crazy. And let's just talk about it. I guess we move from... Should I finish Brice Sensabaugh? I just am really excited for Brice Sensabaugh. He is an NBA player, three-point threat who can score it in a myriad of ways, and he's defending the ball. He's got to improve on the turnovers, but that's what time on the floor does. And that's just the reality with rookies. And that's why I think they're tanking next year, because the Jazz are really kind of depending on Sensabaugh, Keyonte George, and Taylor Hendricks, who did not play tonight, to be a big part of their future. But it's going to take all three of them time, including Keyonte, who looks incredible. But it's going to take those guys time to be consistent, dominant, winning players. It takes time. And you really see that. The most apparent way you see that is with turnovers. And then there's just general things you'll see. Things like getting back and not letting the Nuggets get like 5 baskets on cherry picks, things like that they gotta do. But overall, you've got to be so excited about what Bryce Sensabaugh is doing. And I think, man, if he could be a starting 2 guard in this league, as long as he can move the ball. But you see this 3 assists. If that ball is in Keyonte's hands and he's able to move the ball as well from the 2 spot, there's some things we're seeing from Sensabaugh that I don't know a lot of people expected. And it's a little bit why he dropped to Utah so late, which was why he was such a steal. A lot of people expected him to go, 20 or higher, and the Jazz get him in like the late 20s. I can't remember exactly what it was. And thank goodness they got him in the first round, which means they lock him down for at least 4 years and likely 7 if they want him, So anyways, he'll get better, but I'm excited. We'll get back to Collins, but yeah, back to Kessler. 3 for 9 from the field. It's just, to be a dominant center in this league, especially one who rolls to the rim and catches lobs and things like that, this has to be better. 3 for 9? I really don't know why whenever Walker Kessler scores, he's not doing the Shaq dunk, right? The one when we were all young and there was that silhouette of Shaq hanging on the rim with his legs in the air? Why don't we see more of that from Kessler, right? I don't want to rag on Kessler too much tonight because I do think he actually played pretty well. I thought tonight was a better showing from Kessler, but it's 6 points. And I know that it's Jokic, and he's a big dude and a good rebounder, and he's probably an underrated defender of centers, especially ones like Walker Kessler. Guarding Walker Kessler, Jokic is really excited because he doesn't have to go out to the 3-point line. He doesn't have to run around. He gets to guard him inside. And so, this is a tough matchup for Kessler offensively because Jokic is so big and strong that, it just plays into all the strengths of Jokic, But there's some things with him that have got to be better. 3 for 9 it's just got to be better. If you're a 7'1" center in this league and you can do a lot of the things that Kessler does, like with the block shots, the rim protection, etc., this just kind of needs to be better. Dunk the ball. Dunk the ball. The other thing that I'm seeing that I am not super, it's something he can get better at, but I tweeted about this. We've talked about it multiple times on the show, and I saw it again tonight. So when Walker Kessler gets that initial defense, whether he blocks the shot, he, gets a good contest that forces a miss or deflects it or whatever. It's that second jump that I don't think he's very good at. He's really not very quick. That initial one is elite, high level rim protection. You can't argue that he's not a good rim protector on that first shot. But guess what? Not all those shots go to your team, right? They go to the defender, the offense, and sometimes they get putbacks. And Walker Kessler on that second jump, it's one of the reasons why Rudy Gobert is so elite. It's because of that second jump. It's because Rudy Gobert gets that first defend, and then he defends the second one just as quick. And it helps that Rudy Gobert's so long and tall. He's bigger than Nick Kessler, etc. But he's more athletic, at least quicker. And I don't know how quick Kessler is on that second jump. And I don't know if that's because there's a little bit of like laziness or just kind of his, what do you say it? In Spanish, it's forma de ser. It's his way of being. Like, it's kind of who he is, to be a little slow-footed, I guess, a little bit. Or at least not as, like, you've got to have quick feet. And Rudy Gobert has that, and just has that fire to block every single thing. And, the other thing that Kessler is not as good as Rudy Gobert on, and it's not even debatable, is just, like, getting on the pump fakes, man. I mean, honestly, like, it was a little almost comical at times where Jokic was just like, I'm going to fake you out and you're going to jump and I'm going to score. And Kessler does it on every single one. He goes for these pump fakes all the time, and he doesn't need to. He's tall enough that he can wait and time his shot. And I don't know if he has that instinct to kind of know when the pump fake's coming and when it's not. And, Gobert is not perfect, but he kind of has that instinct. And I don't know if Kessler has it on the second one. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I watch these games and I've been worried about this and wondering about it all season long. Why are the advanced metrics so incredible with Walker Kessler, and yet the Jazz have the worst defense, or one of the worst defenses in the NBA? In fact, let's just pull it up while we talk about this. Like, what is it? Because the advanced metrics are saying a lot, but my eyes are telling me something else. Like, why is Jokic just scoring at ease? And I know it's not just Jokic, but all these teams are just scoring at a high rate. And I also wonder if on the perimeter, if he's just not very good. Let's see. What was I looking at? Oh, teams. Let's see. I wanted to see where the Jazz, the Jazz, it's not going to be good. I can tell you that. And when Walker Kessler is getting a lot of time, and this is pretty noisy because it doesn't include Walker Kessler, for every minute. But you know what? I actually feel like the defense with John Collins has been better with him at the center than with Kessler. I think the eye test at least tells me that. Let's see. So let's see defensive rating here. Minnesota is the number one defense. Rudy Gobert, holy smokes. And that's by 2 points. That's crazy. Utah is the fourth worst defense, and the advanced metrics would tell you that Walker Kessler is just an elite rim protector. But then why are they number 27? You look at, it's just interesting. Like, Rudy Gobert is so much more than just a rim protector. It's that second jump. He actually is a better perimeter defender than people give him credit for. And with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have more athletes and defenders around him, it's been even more incredible, to the point where, look at this, 2 points per possession better than the Boston Celtics. And then everyone else is separated by less than a point, 0.02, 0.08, 0.02, 2 points difference. And then you go to Utah, and you're at 118.9, the same as Charlotte, so they might as well be 28. Look at this. They're tied with Indiana, Charlotte, and they're just barely better, 0.05 better than the Detroit Pistons, and 0.07 better than the Washington Wizards, who lost 16 in a row. If Walker Kessler is this incredibly elite rim protector, first off, he'd be on the floor more, and second, this defense wouldn't be that bad. It's terrible. And so I think you might be right, Gabe. You might be right. Camel Thumb, $4.99. My man, thank you so much. James, you demand. Sensabaugh's shooting feels automatic. Jazz's point god, and Hendricks is looking amazing. All hail the mighty Ainge, the almighty Ainge. I agree. First off, Camel Thumb, you're incredible. Thank you for being a part of the channel. I appreciate it. By the way, I just got the Camel Thumb thing. Because it's not a camel toe, it's a camel thumb. Well done, sir. Well done. Anyways, I agree. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Let's see. Sensabaugh shooting. Okay. Yeah, we already mentioned it, but I'm going to give you cred. Thank you for the $5. The shooting feels automatic. And I know it says 34%, but, you know, he's only taken how many total threes, you know? In fact, let's just go and see. In honor of Camel Thumb, let's just go to totals here. So let's go to 20. Let's see. Does it have totals? Yeah, look, totals. He's only taken 26 threes. You know, and so before tonight, he's 10 for 20. It's like the beginning of baseball season. You can't really take these percentages until he gets more. But he's only taken 26, and he misses 3 tonight. So he goes from 38% to, what is he now? 34. So it's just, I would say he's more on the 38% range, you know. He's going to be great as it's just a shooter. I mean, that's the thing that's exciting about Sensabaugh is just the baseline is an elite shooter, you know. 26 threes. He was shooting 38%. Obviously, tonight he missed 3, so it goes down a little bit. It will go back up. I think the Jazz have themselves, at worst, a nice 6th man. He needs another year or 2 under his belt to just get that NBA game and experience and take your lumps, get better. But man, how nice is it to have a guy that you know is going to be a nice offensive player? That's what's exciting about this right here is 7 for 8. You know, you subtract the threes, 7 for 8 from 2. Holy smokes. The fact that you have that kind of offensive ability and then you're just going to be a knockdown 3-point shooter. How cool is that? They have something there. And, you know, obviously they're in the mode right now where Utah is just going to pick the best player available. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too. But man, how nice is it to have a player that you already know is a knockdown shooter? Did it make sense what I said about Walker Kessler? I hope I'm not coming across as too much of a hater. I know people get mad at me when I, you know, say the things that I see, you know, just the truth. But I do think there's a lot of value to Kessler, but we're talking about the future here. And, you know, Utah is going to have an interesting end of the season here where we might as well be on tank watch now. And there is a possibility to get to 7. It's going to be tough, but I think they could probably get there. We'll see. But anyways, it would be so crazy if Utah actually won this lottery. That would be wild. But then, you know what? Based off of what we've seen from Kessler, I don't think that center job is his in the future by any means. I think it's very likely Utah's just like, you know what? If we're number 1 and we really like Alexander Sarr, 7'1", can shoot the ball, 3 blocks a game, and he's got some nasty, they might take it. And we already know that one thing that the Jazz really want to do is have a 5-out offense. So someone like Alexander Sarr, who, you know, he's got that jump shot is going to need a little bit of time to just become a knockdown 3. But there is a lot to like there. And I think Utah would take him without question. Without question. And the other guy, here's what I would do. I would probably have my top 3 as Sarr, probably 1. I like Cody Williams a lot just because of the the defense looks really nice. I think Reisiger, Williams, Sarr are pretty clearly, in my opinion, the top 3. And then I think from there is where you just kind of decide, because I think someone like Tajon Salon is really interesting. And if Utah can lock down this number 8 and get Tajon Salon, holy smokes, dude. That guy looks really interesting. And he's 6'9". 6'9". And how old? And he's 18 years old. What is in the water in France? Look at this. Sarr, Reisiger, and Salon, all 3 from France. They are creating these incredibly long, tall, skilled athletes that are just kind of crushing the league right now. Holy smokes, is Team France going to be pretty interesting with Wembenyama and Sarr, Reiseker, Salon? I mean, come on. Holy smokes. Anyways, you know what? We'll talk about Keyonte George in a second. He was phenomenal tonight. Led the team in minutes. Easily the best player on the floor for the Jazz. But you know what? Let's talk about John Collins. We haven't gotten to John Collins yet. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. It's official. That was a steal for the Jazz. They got him for a second-round pick that might not even convey. I don't know the protections on it, so I apologize. But from everything I've read and heard, it doesn't seem super likely that the Jazz may even have to give that up. We'll see. I'll look it up sometime if I'm curious about it. But honestly, I don't really care about second-round picks that much. But anyways, John Collins has been the best center for the Jazz this year. He just has. I know a lot of Jazz fans, including myself, I mean, that was one of the most surprising things this year. I mean, before the season, and I've had people kind of troll me online because I was pretty high on Utah making the playoffs this year because I thought that Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen were going to have big years. I thought Walker Kessler was going to just, get a little better and just be a dominant inside force for Utah and help this defense. Instead, the defense has been number 27 in the league. He hasn't been good enough. And Markkanen has had a down season. I mean, the numbers are pretty comparable to last year, but he certainly hasn't crushed it number-wise. I would say Markkanen's actually gotten better in that he's not playing with Mike Conley. I know a lot of people want to, claim that Mike Conley was the guy that changed everything for Utah. And in some instances, I think he did. But one thing that I like about what Lauri Markkanen has done this season is that he put up pretty solid numbers without Conley, with actually pretty bad guard play for good chunks of the year, and still put up good numbers. And Markkanen's waiting on someone like Keyonte George to get there, and it's taking a little time, but George might be there now. And now he's just building on, holy smokes. But anyways, you got to give credit to John Collins, who's been nothing but a professional for the Jazz. He has played really hard. Tonight, he was a +6. He goes 19 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. And the fact that he spreads the floor, he rebounds hard, he hustles, he does a lot of dirty work inside, tough rebounds in traffic and things like that. Collins is just a guy that I'm proud to have on the Jazz, to be honest. I just enjoy watching him play. There are imperfections there, for sure. I know they put Kessler at center, but they should have put Collins because he's been playing like a center. And the rebounds were down this game because Kessler started. But man, when he is playing center and getting all those minutes, he has been a rebound monster. He's just a better rebounder than Kessler. He just is. He rebounds in traffic. He's tough. He's strong. He does not back down from anybody. Kessler's a little soft. I've been surprised how soft he's been. I don't know if Kessler has a killer instinct. I don't know. But you kind of have to have that a little bit. You've got to have some toughness inside. And Collins has it. And yeah, he's got some flaws. Is he the most laterally quick? No. But he's pretty quick vertically. And he gets up there, and that second jump's pretty decent, actually. And for being 6'9", he certainly plays bigger than that, So he's not huge, but he does play big. And so he's just been fun to watch. And every single night, you got to give him a ton of credit because he comes out, he plays hard, doesn't have a bad attitude. He is great in the locker room, great with the team, great mentor, a lot to like. He earns that contract, I can tell you that. And yes, it's pretty big, but you know what? He earns it. I think he's the highest paid on the Jazz, actually, which is crazy. Colin Sexton and John Collins both make more than Lauri Markkanen. That's what's crazy. So Markkanen's going to get paid this offseason with Utah, and then likely they do some sort of renegotiation this offseason, and then I think they'll try to re-sign him. Although, I tell you what, I'm writing about this. I got to do a video on it. I've been a little lazy. It was my daughter's birthday this week. Things like that. Excuses, but I got to talk about it because the Jazz have to make a decision with Lauri Markkanen. They just do. Because a night like tonight where you lose by 21 and it wasn't particularly competitive, are you really wanting to be in when the Cooper flag draft comes next year with Morach and Ace Bailey and all those guys, do you really want to be here or do you want to be here? And it matters. It does matter. It really matters. Especially when you just consider the fact that you've got to give your young guys time. And they've got to get experience. So, but anyways, Colin Sexton, here's what I wanted to say. Colin Sexton, Chris Dunn, Jordan Clarkson. Chris Dunn, I love Chris Dunn, but there were a lot of zeros tonight. Look at that. A lot of zeros. It was not a very good Chris Dunn game. That's okay. I love Chris Dunn. I hope he's on the Jazz for the next 10 years as a coach, as a player, and then I hope he just becomes a coach for the Jazz. But the veterans are letting the Jazz down. Yes, they traded Kelly Olynyk. By the way, the Jazz traded Kelly Olynyk to the Toronto Raptors, and they just lost to the Portland Trailblazers. So, everyone who's saying, oh, the Jazz are training for worse. No, those people aren't talking about the loss tonight to the Portland Trailblazers, as well as Ochai Agbaji. He's kind of disappeared again. In fact, let's just look, and this may look bad for me, but let's just see. Did Ochai play in this one? 2 for 7, 1 for 4 from 3. And the Jazz got a first-round pick. They knew, no one knew better than Utah. By the way, I'm not going to see any more Grady Dick numbers tonight. 3 for 10 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. Ain't no Grady Dick highlights tonight. Ain't no Grady Dick highlights tonight. But anyways, the Jazz got a first-round pick for Kelly Olynyk, who everyone complained about not getting a first-round pick for Bojan Bogdanovic. Well, they got the first-round pick. The Toronto Raptors just paid him like $16 million or something like that over 2 years. The Jazz didn't want to do that. They have cap space. They want to use it likely on Markkanen if they're going to give him the pay and stay away plan for Markkanen. If Markkanen wants to go get that BBL done, next year's the year to do it. Get that tummy tuck, Lauri Markkanen. Get that work done you needed. It's time to take it off. Get that shoulder surgery you need. Get that knee surgery done. Whatever it is, get that whatever done next year, because Utah could really stand to have Markkanen long term, but give him a rest next season. But the veterans really let the Jazz down, so they get rid of Kelly Olynyk. They don't have Brice Sensabaugh. They trade Fontecchio. If anything, Fontecchio was maybe the biggest loss of all those trades, ironically. And he's not exactly killing it with Detroit either, but he's been a nice fit and he's a nice player. But anyways, if your season is really hinging on Simone Fontecchio, it might be time to consider what you are doing. And, Colin Sexton, I love Colin Sexton. He had an off night tonight. But, man, 6 for 17 really lets the Jazz down. Jordan Clarkson was a minus 29. The numbers actually look pretty decent when you just look at the raw numbers, 10 for 18 from the field. But 3 turnovers doesn't even really tell the whole story. Minus 29 really says everything. I just think that at some point the Jazz have to make a move. They will likely trade him this offseason. We heard Tony Jones saying that if you're a big-time Jordan Clarkson fan, get ready because he's probably getting moved this offseason. I imagine that's what's going to happen. And so, you know what? The Jazz need to do it. I mean, Colin Sexton, I love Colin Sexton. I think his future, if he is a future part of the Jazz, is as a sixth man where he can come in, play that shooting guard, and really just score the ball. But I don't know if Colin Sexton even wants to be on this Jazz team if they're going full youth. That's the question with Lauri Markkanen as well. Utah is likely going to be very bad. ESPN already projects them as the 10th worst team. And that's the question. Man, I'm going blurry here. Do you want to be bottom 10 or do you want to be bottom 5? Being 10 to 15 in a really good draft is not great. And so they've got a Lauri Markkanen question, and they're gonna have to ask themselves some hard questions this offseason. Like, who are we? What's the long-term plan? And considering how many teams are very interested, and that's the thing. And I know I'm trying to talk about Keyonte George, and this is turning into a Lauri Markkanen thing. But that rumor from Jake Fisher didn't come from nowhere. I know the Jazz tried to kind of squash that, but that means that those talks happened. And the talks that he is not untouchable happened. Okay? It's just real. And there is a part of me that has been thinking about that. And we kind of saw it last year, like with John Collins and the Atlanta rumors. Remember, not last offseason, but the season before, the Jazz had tons of talks with the Atlanta Hawks. Tons. And it was that trade deadline, and nothing happened. But guess what? The offseason came, the Atlanta Hawks rumors ramped up again, and all of a sudden the Jazz had John Collins. What does that tell me? Well, a lot of these trade negotiations happen, and the Jazz have specific amounts they want to get. But teams either don't want to make those moves or don't have the assets yet to make them happen. The Jazz likely talked to some teams and said, this is what he is, especially after that thing leaked. And I would not be surprised at all, knowing Danny Ainge and how so many things get leaked, that he let it go because he's like, you know what? Let's let it go out there and see what people give. And it came, and a lot of teams didn't quite have what they wanted. But then all of a sudden, you've got these rumors out there, and Markkanen's hearing about it, and reporters are asking him about it, and the Jazz had to kind of, backtrack and give this story that, what we're asking for is astronomical. I mean, he's pretty much untouchable. Well, you know what? He's untouchable until he's not. Until the Jazz realize we're going to be bottom 10 next year. That's no man's land. You have a chance to get a legitimate star, and we're going to really pass on that because we want to be 10 to 15 in the draft order, not even make the playoffs. I mean, there's not really a guy out there that you're going to get that's really altering your franchise towards a championship. And that's what the Jazz have been saying over and over and over, is they want to be a championship team. And they're doing the right thing right now. But sometimes you got to be Thanos. And you got to drop the green girl into the pit of doom. What did it cost? Everything. So maybe you give a trade. I don't know. I think all bets are off this offseason outside of Keyonte George and Taylor Hendricks. And now it's kind of looking like Brice Sensabaugh not being on the team. KG10 to TH5, $2, my man. Thank you so much. Maybe the Pistons are fawn tanking. They are. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but they are definitely fawn tanking. Hey, shout out to the Pistons who have beaten out the let's see. Oh, they just tied again. Washington's doing their best to overtake them. It was going to be like, not the worst. Not the worst. That's the official chant of the Detroit Pistons of the 2024 season. Not the worst. Not the worst. I don't know. But anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, the Jazz just have to make a decision with Markkanen. I don't know. It's going to be an incredibly interesting offseason. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Can we put to bed this Luka Doncic to Utah thing? I mean, if it happens, I'll happily eat all the crow in the world. Give me some barbecue sauce. Get me that, rotisserie crow with some nice barbecue. I'll put it on a taco, eat it with a nice salsa and coleslaw, whatever. It's not happening. I was thinking about it tonight watching the Nuggets. How likely do you think it is that the Nuggets are to trade Nikola Jokic? Pretty low, right? Like, for who? Why would Dallas be any different with Luka Doncic? If Utah had Luka Doncic, would you trade him for what the Jazz have asset-wise? Of course not. Of course not. And yes, there's a scenario where Luka Doncic demands his way out. You think he's demanding his way to Utah? Have we ever had... I mean, the best free agent signing for Utah ever is Carlos Boozer, and that was with a lot of, kind of like things that really fell in Utah's favor. And some sneaky work by Kevin O'Connor. Or I guess Bojan Bogdanovic. That's the best. They're coming to Utah because everything fell through. Remember, Mirotic was going to be the guy that Utah signed, and it fell through because he decided to join Spain over Utah. So the Jazz missed out on freaking Nikola Mirotic. And we think Luka Doncic is going to work his way to Utah just because we have the assets? And he's not on a rookie contract. So if that happens, you're trading all this insane amount of assets for what? A year or two of Doncic before he goes to the Lakers? No. And when you consider that the Jazz are looking at having a window of like I think the quote from Ryan Smith was like a 7 to 10 year window. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay? Can we put it to bed? Can we just kind of like accept what the future is for this team, and it's going to be building through the draft? And by the way, outside of like the Toronto Raptors and I guess the Lakers getting LeBron, how many teams have won the title that didn't draft the guy that they won it with? You look at the Warriors drafting Steph and Clay, and they won, and obviously Kevin Durant goes to them, but they drafted their core before Kevin Durant came. And you look at the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis, and the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, and these teams, they draft these guys. And, LeBron came back to Cleveland, drafted by Cleveland. It's how it works. Miami wins because they drafted Dwayne Wade. Okay? You have to draft your stars to win the finals. Now, once you get that top 5, top 10 guy, that's when you start making the moves, right? It's like Denver drafts Jamal Murray and Jokic. That was the big time thing. And Porter Jr. They did it all through the draft. And they're likely going to win the title again this year. You're not getting those guys through trade. If you're Utah, maybe if you're Miami, but Miami couldn't even get Damian Lillard, and they're Miami. South Beach. They couldn't get him. Right? This whole offseason, we listened to them talk about getting Damian Lillard, and not even Miami could trade for a number one option like that. Right? And I guess this is the anti-argument to Utah getting, Luka, because Milwaukee was able to get him with the assets they were willing to give up. But Milwaukee's worse now. They gave up all these assets. They give up Drew Holiday, and they're not even as good as they were last year. They hired a worse coach. They had to fire him midway through the season. Now they have Doc Rivers. They have Damian Lillard, who they gave an arm and a leg for, and they're not even better. Do we really want to become the Dallas Mavericks this year? Because that's all you're going to be. You're going to give up all your assets. How are you going to add the secondary guys? The way to a title, unless you're the Toronto Raptors and you can find a way to get a top 5 guy and you get him for 1 year, which is kind of what would happen with Doncic, and then you have to win. And they got a little lucky, to be honest. Remember, Kevin Durant tears his ACL. Klay Thompson tears his ACL in those finals, and that's why Toronto won. They got a little lucky. And one really lucky bounce against the Philadelphia 76ers, if you remember. And so you really want to have all these things for one maybe lucky streak, and then he goes somewhere else? And I don't even know if Luka Doncic is as good as Kawhi Leonard was that season with Toronto. So I really kind of am hoping we can put this Luka Doncic thing to bed. Teams don't trade top 5 guys. They just don't. If you consider Doncic a top 5 guy or top 8 guy, whatever. The Jazz would never trade them. Neither is Dallas. And even if you traded for that guy, the amount of assets you have to give up is astronomical. Phoenix gave up everything they have for Kevin Durant, who's kind of on the back end of his prime. And that's it. If they don't do it this year, you are looking at 10 years of drought for Phoenix. And even everything that Phoenix did to get him, and where do they stand in the standings? Where's Phoenix? 7th. I think Phoenix has a shot to win it all, but man, it's they're relying on Bradley Beal to stay healthy. Good luck. So, anyways, I think Phoenix is going to be interesting. Probably eat my words after this, but you have to draft that guy, and so that's why they have a Lauri Markkanen question. They've got to answer it, because I don't know if Markkanen is the guy that's leading you to a title. He's not a number one, that's for sure. The question is he a 2 or a 3? And if he's a legit 2 on a contender, he's probably good enough to keep you from getting that guy. Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey. By the way, Ace Bailey is like 6'9", 6'10". He really is very similar in a lot of ways to Paul George. Go watch the Ace Bailey film. It's like, holy crap. He is everything you want in a wing in the NBA that's just like size, shooting, scoring, dominating. And he's going to be freaking awesome. And then you look at Cooper Flagg, 6'9", 6'10", just an absolutely crushing defender. And a lot of people are talking about him outside of Wembanyama, the best prospect since like Anthony Davis or even since LeBron. He looks incredible since, I guess, Zion Williamson. And I think I don't know. It's a freaking great draft. And they have a chance to really get that guy. And if you can combine a stud like that with Keyonte, with Sensabaugh, with Hendricks, Kessler even as a backup center or as a starting center is fine, as long as he's like your 5th best starter, And so the Jazz have so many options. And I wouldn't trade Walker Kessler unless you can get something pretty nice. But, Utah's going to have 3 picks in this draft. And I think they're going to make all 3 picks. Unless they trade up, maybe they make 2 picks. I kind of wonder if that second rounder and that late first the Jazz have, if they try to trade up a few spots late in the first, if there's a guy they really like. But either way, I think they probably make 3 picks, and then I think they play him. And I think we saw all the rumors this trade deadline. Colin Sexton was in rumors. Jordan Clarkson. We even heard rumors about Lauri Markkanen. It just, for everyone who says timelines don't matter, Brian Marcillo talks about that. I disagree. They do matter. They do. If one player is keeping you from being on the right track, it's a problem. So anyways, all this to just say the Jazz have some tough decisions to make this offseason. They got just absolutely destroyed by Denver tonight. And it really showed how far away they are. And I don't think that if you're playing, Markkanen and Kelly Olynyk, it's really putting you that close to that. There's not this offseason signing this offseason that's blowing the doors off the Jazz. In fact, go look at the free agency. Go look at 2024 free agent list. It's not great. And every single one is a lot of guys that are just going to re-sign with their teams. So unless you're doing it by trade. But, man, and the stuff for, like, DeJounte Murray, why would the Jazz trade for DeJounte Murray when they have Keyonte George? I think it's interesting that Atlanta started winning as soon as Trae Young stopped playing. Not great for the Trae Young people out there. In fact, just curious. Atlanta's now in the play-in. They are 5-5 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. I don't know. Not great for the Trae Youngites out there. All right, let's see. Not much else to say. I'm glad Taylor Horton Tucker's just not very good. There's a lot of players that just aren't very good. And I think, honestly, next year the starting unit would be really fun to see, Keyonte George, Brice Sensabaugh, draft pick, Taylor Hendricks, draft pick on the bench, draft pick, Jason Preston, Chris Dunn. And then we'll see if Lauri Markkanen's on the team next year. I think it's more likely that he is than not. And I think the Jazz try to figure out a way to keep him on the team long term for 10 years and then have him play once the Jazz really find their star. But it's going to be tough. It's going to take time. It's not easy. And so we're going to see. It's going to be pretty wild. I think that's everything. All right, let's just look. So the Jazz, like I said, I think the Jazz have a chance to get here. It's going to be tough. Toronto trades for Kelly Olynyk, though. and it seems like they're a better team with him. I don't know. But they've lost 3 in a row. I guess they've shut down Scotty Barnes. Brooklyn has nothing they're playing for, but they're 4-6 in their last 10. They're giving their pick to the Rockets, so it's not like they have incentive to lose. I think the Jazz end at least 8, but I think there's a chance to get to 7. But these teams are going to start phoning it in as well, and it'll be interesting to see. Toronto's pick here is top 6 protected, but they've got to beat out Memphis. And, you know, they're only 1 game behind. I don't know. This is going to be interesting. We're going to watch it. So we're just going to watch it. All right, let me pull up. I screwed up again. But let's pull this up. And let's just see if the draft was held today, what would happen? All right, let's see. Oh, I almost did the shout out. No, we're doing this. All right, so if the lottery was today, where would the Jazz be picking? Whoa, look at that number 1 overall pick. The Jazz would win it in this draft, and you get Alexander Sarr, a very promising young prospect, but also not for sure at all. And that's your pick. How scary would that be? Toronto goes to number 2. That's crazy. But guess what? You get the number 1 overall pick. You get to literally choose whoever you want. So if you like Cody Williams, that means the Jazz get a pick. Do they pick Reisiger, 6'9", elite shooter? Alexander Sarr, defensive wing or defensive center, super athletic that can also shoot the 3. Man, I got to start watching more Sarr. If the Jazz win this, that's going to be crazy. Or Cody Williams can guard 1 through 4. He's 6'8". Brother of Jalen Williams on the Oklahoma City Thunder, the better player. Interesting prospect. So many guys the Jazz could go for. That's crazy. The Jazz won the lottery tonight. Woo! All right, let's give a shout out to our All-Stars tonight, and then let's all go get to bed. It's daylight savings time. We all lose an hour, so get to bed tonight, guys. All right, let's give a shout out to the Tim Protector Robot, Nathan Burnett Burkhart, Dirty Jazz Car Wash Channel, Fly Eagles Fly, Platinum Eagles, The Real Deal Lars Jarvin, and Ryan Perry, the legend. Just Buckets JB, Baby Elliott Matson, Christian House Money to Haas, The Outlaw Jesse James Nelson, Ezekiel Raicibe, the man from down under. See ya, Alexa later, Built for Tough, Alexander Tufts, Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, TGD Total Game Domination, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Austin R. Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Patrick Akubo the Connoisseur, and Robert Hall of Fame. Guys, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will talk to you next time.